Hey everybody, it's Green Havoc here, and today we're going to be talking about cooldown management.
Push off.
Double.
So cooldown management is incredibly important in Overwatch for a few reasons. Reason number one is because it's the ultimate way for certain heroes, a la Brigitte, to shut down main tanks, dive heroes, basically just anybody in the game. She can go, hey, guess what? You're not having fun. However, if you use her abilities wrong, you can quickly lose a lot of value. If you're not there to stop a Tracer from one-clipping a Zenyatta, then what does it matter that you're a hero that does so well against Tracer? So cooldown management is understanding how your abilities can both bolster an ally or remove an enemy threat, and using them when it is most critically important that it's used. Yes, there are going to be times where you just want to use your abilities almost every time they're up. A perfect example of this is Hanzo's Storm Bow. You don't want to be sitting on that cooldown. It's a short cooldown and it just makes him do so much damage. So it's a great ability to basically use every single time it's off cooldown, unless you're really expecting something, as an example, a Pharah, where you know you're going to need those extra shots. But for a lot of heroes, cooldown management is hunting for specific moments of value. As an example, for Brigitte, you can knock a Winston and a D.Va right out of the sky. So when they're trying to reposition rapidly and use one of the most important parts about playing the dive tanks, you can, with a single whip shot, throw that big old chain out there, knock them right out of the sky, and remove a cooldown that is essential for the hero. You've traded one of your decent but not most important abilities for one of their most important abilities. So, and that's what we're talking about when we mean cooldown management, is understanding when the opportunities arise for you to get more value with your abilities than the opponent gets out of theirs. Whereas if you're, let's say, a big thing I see a lot of Brigittes do, we're going to talk about Brigitte because I think she's one of the more underrated characters when it comes to cooldown management, is I've seen a lot of Brigittes walk up and stun the Reinhardt. Just right as the fight begins, stun the Reinhardt. And it's, sure, you did a little damage and the Reinhardt's slightly annoyed, but was your Reinhardt charging? Was there a combo involved? What ability did you stop? Or did you walk up and stun the Reinhardt, do a little damage, and that's just about it? Well, the higher and higher ranks you get where small actions like that get more and more punished. As an example, if the enemy team is running a Tracer, the second I hear that a Brigitte doesn't have her stun, I'm no longer afraid of the character almost entirely. I know that I can operate in her space for about 6 seconds before the Brigitte is even really going to be able to turn into a threat against me, which means every time you stun at an inopportune moment and don't get true value out of the ability, you're creating pockets and windows for your opponents to strike. So understanding how to look for, like, your counters, as an example. Let's use McCree. He's a great example of this. McCree is an amazing 1v1 dueler with his flashbang. However, the second his stun is on cooldown, he becomes a prime target for almost every DPS in the game, and every tank, especially the dive ones. So understanding that when you use that cooldown, you need to be gaining a certain value. As an example, stun, headshot, tracer, deleted. Now it doesn't matter if you get dove and also eliminated yourself, because at the very minimum you went 1-for-1. However, you need to be careful about throwing his stun out on a main tank with no follow-up, or an off tank who's just around, because you again create a window of opportunity where your character is now weaker. Sometimes the threat of an ability is more threatening than the ability itself. With things like Lucio's boop, you don't always see people get thrown off the map, but by having a Lucio, they're worried about it. So sometimes just the ability being in the roster is scary. Until you throw it out onto the battlefield, and the enemy team knows, oh, they can't use it right now, now we go in. So that's just something to think about in your games, is how do your abilities work? How do they work against the enemy's abilities? How do they work with your allies' abilities? What combos can we set up? Can I stun the Reinhardt so my Reinhardt can charge freely and get a big impact? Am I going to stop an ultimate? D.Va's defensive matrix is an ability often misused, blocking spam damage and just standing in the choke, whereas blocking key damage, important shots, or covering for reses and things like that, simple combos, you can get so much out of the character. We're going to come out with a list on Cooldown Management 2 about all of the combos that are potentially in the game, things to watch out for, things that are commonly misdone. But for this video, we're just going to focus on the understanding that your abilities matter, and just start the process of helping your teammates, hurting your enemies, the balance between the two, and understanding how your own abilities work. Anyway, guys, I hope you found this video both fun and educational. And until the next video, we will see you on the ladder.